Neiros Part 3. If anyone needs to go and do whatever they need to, they could. We're going to run out of time very quick. So Hadlakas Neiros Part 3, we spoke about the Chiyuv. We spoke about how to light, the issues and how to light. There might be one paper short, so someone share, I apologize. The issues and how to light. And we concluded last time that the best way to light is to include the electricity with the Hadlakas Neiros. And surprising statistics came back. Then as much as the male folk might have been surprised that where in this world does this come from, that you should turn on the lights, this Shas Hadlakas Neiros, it seems that, believe it or not, many women were indeed even taught this. Whether they were mekabel from their teachers, Rabbeim, is a different story. But people definitely knew about this idea. This should not have been the biggest chiddush. But just a little more background is, how many candles do we light on Shabbos? How many? So this all begins from a Gemara in Shabbos Daf Chol Gimel and Beis, which we mentioned at the very end of the last year, just to say it inside, which is Haragel B'ner Havyolam Banav Talmidei Chachamim. And Rashi on the spot says, this is talking about Neiros Shabbos and Neiros Chanukah. At Chanukah time we make emphasis of this. And Rashi says, why? Why is Haragel B'ner, why is that going to give you Talmidei Chachamim? Kiner Mitzvah V'Torah Ar. An interesting makar that Rashi brings down. And the question is, how many candles do you light? How many candles do you light? So everyone knows how many light? At least two. Where does two come from? First of all, that's not true. Excuse me, we'll get there in a moment. That's what everyone does. But what's the minimum you can light? What's the minimum you can light? We'll get there in a moment. Your minimum you can light is one. As long as you do something, you're yaitz. It's a Mishnah Berurah, actually. Read Samuel Kimmel Slikat and Beis. If you want to see, it's smack in the middle of the page. You're yaitz the mitzvah, which is important. Sometimes you're away and this and that. All you got is one little tea light, and you're going to make yourself mishiga for the second one. Maybe you should, because that's the minhag. But l'maiser, you're yaitz zayin with one candle. Why do we light two? No. Zachar v'shamar. So it's interesting. It comes from Shalos Teshuvah Rashba that says, Kol mili de Shabbos kafel. All entities of Shabbos are doubled. Shnei kvasim, lechem mishnah, zachar v'shamar, v'nira sha'minig al zeh lahalik shtei neiros. That's where the minhag came from. Interesting. And of course, it's brought down in the Shulchan Aruch, echad keneged zachar, echad keneged zachar. Now, what's interesting is there's a Mishnah Berurah that says there are some that had a minhag. What else? Anyone know of any other minhagim? What to light? Aside for a two? No, aside for a two. As many kids, good. Mishnah Berurah doesn't bring that one down. What else? Some people do 7. Some do 7, says Mishnah Berurah, keneged the 7 Meishvua. Some people do 10, keneged the Asara Dibris. And I think some people even do 26, keneged the Yudke Vavke. I think it's B'nai Yissaschar, Einiklach. They start at 26. I think Einiklach of B'nai Yissaschar. I think that's where they come from, 26. Lamaisa, our minhag of adding one per kid is very cloudy where it comes from. It's not a very good source where this comes from, that we added one from a kid. Some suggest that it used to be Bizman Chazal, that the first week that a baby was born, it was often the woman forgot a candle, and therefore it became the minhag that you always add on a candle. Chayr, that's not MS. But where it comes from is not. I think there's a Mariva, there's a Maharil maybe somewhere, but it's not clear the source that we have to add on an extra candle.
Didn't want to. Is this like an established minhag now that
to add on one per kid? It's a family.
I mean, if you don't want to add one per kid,
it's a family minhag. It's telling your family minhag. Now, whose family? Husband or wife? Is a big fight. Al tita shtei simecha l'chayra. It should go by the woman. Should go by her family's minhagim, as we know, Chalanida, Hadlakas Neiros, Chana should go by the woman. However, this is a big fight, or of Shmuel, or of Yaakov, big Shmuel, who said what and what said who over there, Ramesha. Okay, I think the most prevalent minhag is that the woman does what her mother does, unless the husband is makvid, then they get into a fight. And usually the Rav just tries to make a pshara. That's usually, it's a chayr. The whole point here is for Shalom Bayis, right? So if you're lighting candles for Shalom Bayis, and every time you light candles, like, oh, my stupid husband, I have to do this. Pardon my French. What should I tell you? L'chayra, what we try to do is we try to create Shalom. But yeah, in a situation that someone doesn't want to add on per kid, l'chayra would be totally in minhag and how strong their family's minhag were it to be, as with all minhagim, you could always be mataneder if there's a real reason, etc. The minhag also, this is also not sourced anywhere, that when people travel, they don't add on per kids. When they travel, they only light the 2. Someone has, 5 kids. At home, they light 7. They go away, they light 2. Where that comes from, I'm not sure. Pashtus says that's the ikra halacha. Ikra halacha, zachar v'shamar. They light 2. Why not? Sometimes it's like, what's the big deal? I'll just put an extra 5 candles. I don't know. That is the minhag. So now, on this paper, there's a part 2 here, which is something called Hadlakas Neiros, which is a fascinating halacha and happens to be quite relevant on early Shabbos. That is the minhag. I don't know. I'm not saying the word minhag b'davka. That's what everyone does, as I do. You go away, you light 2, and you don't add on extras. But I don't know where it comes from. But now, but before we go further, we should just add on one more detail. What do you light with? I'll just be ma'ir the shayla. Do you light with wax? Do you light with oil? Or do you light with paraffin? Those are your 3 options. Paraffin. That's the clear stuff. Ever see clear candles? Now, number 1 is we'll tell everyone that paraffin is a hazard if you drink. So if you have paraffin in your house, don't leave it in a place kids are going to drink it. Similar to other things, you shouldn't leave it in a place that kids are going to drink. And they all have a double lock on the top. And if it doesn't, don't buy that brand. Why they made that, I don't really know. But Lamaisa, what should you do? There is a chazonish based off of Mishnah Berurah that says you're supposed to light whatever the candle is the most yafeh, the nicest light. Nice light. Based on that, they say candles have a nicer light than regular oil, and therefore than olive oil. They say candles have a nicer light, and therefore that's where the chazonish. If you ever see pictures of the Chaim Kanievsky, they lit candles. Lamaisa, candles. What else is a candle made out of? Yeah, candle. What?
I thought it was the opposite. I thought like on Hanukkah it's better to light the...
That's because Hanukkah, the miracle came through Shemin. Therefore, this it did in Shemin. And once you're lighting with Shemin, you want to have the greatest Shemin. But Shabbos candles, since we know that the whole invention is to have light, that's where it comes from. I don't have this source in front of me. I'm sorry. I'll tell you next time. But Lamaisa, al pi Kabbalah, you're supposed to light Shemin Zayis. You're supposed to light oil. You're supposed to light olive oil. So that's where issues come. Many people light olive oil for al pi Kabbalah. Many people light candles al pi not Kabbalah. Some people say, well, my mother always does this. So I have a minhag. You have to check. Is that really called a minhag? Maybe she just did that because it's more convenient for her to buy candles if she didn't want to be busy with olive oil. Lamais. What? So Ramesha Sternbach. Very good. We'll get there 1 second. Paraffin, they say, is the nicest light of all. They say paraffin is even nicer than candles, which is a newer invention. They say paraffin is the nicest, and that's where it comes from, that you'll maybe see people, Ramesh Shtermach says, you want to have the Ikra al pi Kabbalah, you do 2 for Shem and Zayis al pi Kabbalah, and then the extras you want to have the Ikra Halacha, which is the nicest light, so therefore you do paraffin. That's what many people do. They'll do, 3, 4 paraffin, and then they'll do the rest Shem and Zayis. Many people have, if they have real minhagim, then they don't do that. If someone has a real minhag, that her usually, if a parent or a grandparent lights olive oil, that's usually a real minhag. Whereas candles is not. And just the reason is because candles is usually convenience. So lav dafka is that a minhag. Often it was just done candles because that was the most convenient. But if someone you see the Alta Baba that she's still lighting with olive oil, usually that means that she's makbid on olive oil, and that could be, it does create a minhag. But now, in the last 5 minutes, we want a real ikar sugya that we're supposed to talk about today is kinas. A fascinating idea from the Maril that says a woman should be zihira kol yamel lahaisif. If what happens al isha demishtila sheshacha, she made a mistake, v'lo hidlik a ner Shabbos. So what happens v'hayrila? That what should she do? Should say zihira kol yamel. Very interesting halacha. We do not find this often. Her entire life lahaisif al kol ner shel mitzvah. Yaiser mimashe serigila b'shiurim ad ata. If you read the words carefully, if you read the word carefully, it's interesting. You should be moisef on the candle in the shiurim. So let's just say the pashtas, then we'll speak out afterwards. Comes in the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah, as well as we write over here at Kaf Chaim as well. The Sfardim in general follow this as well. I do not know what Rav Yosef holds. That hoisha shachal pamachas lahadlik madalekes kol yamel gimel neiros, quoting the Maril. So the Ramah, if you realize, added on a dot to the Maril. Maril said you should be moisef yoiser mimashe serigila b'shiurim ad ata. So there are those that want to say in the Maril, does it mean in quantity or maybe kamzechos? Does it mean an extra candle or maybe it means to add on a little bit? What does that mean? That means if you light with oil 3 ounces, maybe it means now to light 4 ounces. If you light with wax, maybe it means to buy a bigger candle. There are those that say that, but it's important to note the Ramah certainly didn't hold that. Now, Is that have to do with what the Ramah personally did? Doesn't seem that way, but that's what the Ramah writes. You should add on an extra candle. So the question is, when this happens, are there any kulas or aterim? Because people don't really enjoy a couple with one cave. They have 5 candles. It doesn't really look cool. So what's the story? So number one is the Mishnah Berurah. I shouldn't even say kulas. The shayla is, where does the kanas apply? Let's say it better. We're not looking for kulas. We're looking to follow the halacha. So where does the kanas apply? Says the Mishnah Berurah, im nensa, if it was an oines, then you don't have to add on. What's an oines? Says the Mishnah Berurah. You're in jail. Pretty high level oines. But like there are cases, and again, oines is subjective. Oines is tishal l'sheilas chacham. You ask the Mayra what he calls an oines. But for example, a potential case, and we'll get to in a moment, better cases would be, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, let's say the woman goes into labor and she goes into the hospital. And she's in labor straight through whatever, that's in Cha'inis Gadol Mizu. So her husband could have lived for her. Maybe her husband was in the hospital, he couldn't do it either. Kid could have lived for her, but okay, that's the case. Sometimes a child has an accident, kid breaks his legs, they're running to the hospital, they're flying, they come home from Shabbos a minute before Shkia, and they just manage to, jump into the shower, and then they're walking to the shore like, oh, we don't like candles. Chayr, that would also be an oinus. The nekuda is not that they forgot. It's not shacha. It was an oinus. But cases like that, you have to ask a shayla. But the question is, there's a better one. So first of all, before we get to better, Shmuel Kamenetsky points out that a toyis in halacha, there's no kanas. What does toyis in halacha mean? This is a very common newlywed case. Particularly, I'll tell you the case that happens, is newlywed in Eretz Yisrael. And, the only time in their life that they're ready for Shabbos, very early because they've been preparing since Wednesday. So they decide, let's go to the Kaisel. Let's go to the Kaisel. Let's go to the Kaisel for early Shabbos. What could be more beautiful to go to Kaisel for early Shabbos? And you get to see the sun setting. Excellent. But when do they leave their house? Early Shabbos usually is right after Plag HaMincha. So you leave your house. They wanted to walk, have had to exercise, all the good things. So they left their house a half hour before Plag HaMincha. And they lit candles, and she's all excited. It's the 3rd time she's lighting candles. Mitah bracha, the waving, the iris, the kedusha, everything is flying. Well, guess what? There's no iris and no kedusha, and there's one big fat bracha of hatala. Why? Because the ma'aser she lived before Blag HaMincha, and he can't live for Blag HaMincha. I have to amend. There are those who learn up in Aruch HaShulchan. Then maybe I'll be a guy, maybe, but that's a very shver sigma. We're going to leave that, and we're just going to quote the words of Shmuel Kamenetsky that he says, if you made a toyis and halacha, this couple didn't know. And there are cases that this happens all the time. Oh yeah, where did your wife lie? No, she left before we went. How did she do that? Yeah. Anyways, but Lamaisa says of Shmuel, a toyis in halacha, you do not have to get a kinas. Why not? Because the whole kinas is because of a zilzal. Very good. What does that mean? Machal Shabbos? That's a pretty dreadful case. I mean, does that work? He gets skila. You throw him off a cliff.
You mean you get a kanas? You get a knas.
No, you pashas. It was I don't know what that's called. I have to. Again, we're going to get to a better case, but Shia, I don't know how that happened. But you have to tell me how it happened. It's not like I'm just running late and like, oh, whoops, By the way, the 18 minutes is pretty real in America. 18 minutes is pretty real that women light at that. It could even be a minhag that people, even though they're allowed to light after 18 minutes, as all of us men know, but for the women, they think they have to light at 18 minutes. So it could be it's a real minhag. In Eretz Yisrael, the real Yerushalmi is at 40 minutes. But either way, if Lamaisa, again, it depends on the case. If the case was she didn't know what time Shabbos was, she thought Shabbos was 6:15, Shabbos was really 6:10, so she lit at 6:11. Okay, that might be a case. Now you have to down up what was the tais. Was that a shoygig? Was that, you have to figure out what the, again, each case has its fine nuances. But the real answer to these questions is Rav Elyashiv. Rav Elyashiv says, based on the first 2 shiurim, why is there almost no case there should ever be a kanas? Is because if any time after Plag HaMincha you turned on a light, that means you lit Neiros L'Kavod Shabbos. I don't care if it was the bathroom light, I don't care if it was the kitchen light, I don't care if it was the bedroom light. Now, has to be you did it for Shabbos, which usually, Plag is an hour and a half for Shabbos. So usually, why did you turn on that light when you came down from upstairs? Why did you turn on the bathroom light? You turned it on because you wanted to be on for Shabbos. And then you got busy and you forgot to light candles. So will there be a kanas? Says Rav Elyashiv, no, because you were mekayim the mitzvah. How are you mekayim the mitzvah? Because you lit candles for Shabbos. It has to be after Plag HaMincha. Yes. Pashtus, it could be anyone. If they were Mekayim the mitzvah, could be. That's an interesting case. If the husband does it, could be that. Brachas not brachas not makim in the mitzvah. Brachas not makim mitzvah. So then the case is that there would be no kenas oines, tais and halacha, or in a scenario that you lit electricity, which is often the case. And whether we could do the whole adding on it a little extra oil shtickle, I don't know. Make sure you ask the right Rav.